Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that your life can change faster than you ever imagined? Not next year, not next month, but starting tonight. Most people believe change takes years, pain, or luck. But the truth is this: your reality doesn't change when the world changes. Your reality changes when you change. Right now, many people are living on autopilot. Same thoughts, same habits, same excuses, and then they wonder why life looks the same every day. But the moment you change the way you think, speak, and act, your reality is forced to respond. Everything you see in your life today, every success, every challenge, every moment of happiness, or every moment of frustration begins in your mind. Before a house is built, before a business thrives, before a relationship grows, it first exists as a thought. Yet, most people underestimate the immense power that thoughts hold over their reality. We wake up every day, often on autopilot, letting our thoughts run unchecked, unaware that each thought we entertain is shaping our tomorrow. You might be thinking, I can't change my life overnight, or some things are just beyond my control. But the truth is that your life can only reflect what your mind allows it to. If you fill your mind with doubt, fear, and limitation, that is exactly the world you will experience. Conversely, if you cultivate thoughts of possibility, courage, and growth, reality begins to bend to your vision, almost as if the universe itself recognizes your new mindset. The mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. It can imprison you in a cage of fear, or it can liberate you into a life of freedom and opportunity. Think for a moment about the difference between a person who constantly complains about life and a person who chooses to see challenges as opportunities. They may face similar circumstances, yet their experiences will be completely different. Why? Because their thoughts are creating different realities. Thoughts are not just mental chatter, they are the foundation of your emotions, the architects of your decisions, and the blueprint of your future. Every habit, every action, every success story you admire started with a single thought. Somewhere, someone decided, I can do this, or I will not settle for less. That thought was the seed. Every late night of preparation, every early morning of dedication, every obstacle overcome grew from that seed. Many people fail to realize how often they let negative thoughts dominate their lives. I am not good enough. I can't do this, or this is impossible, are statements we repeat to ourselves without questioning them. The more you entertain these thoughts, the more they solidify, and soon, your mind convinces you that these limitations are reality. But here's the crucial point. Thoughts are not facts. They are choices. And just as you can choose to let negativity control you, you can also choose to let empowering thoughts take root. It requires awareness, it requires practice, and it requires honesty with yourself. When you catch a thought that limits you, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this thought building the life I want, or destroying it? Your mind will resist at first because it is used to the familiar. But the more you question negative thoughts and replace them with constructive ones, the more your mind begins to rewire itself. Visualization is one of the most powerful ways to harness your thoughts to create reality. Picture the life you desire. See yourself achieving your goals. Feel the emotions of living that life, not in the distant future, but right now. When you consistently feed your mind with images of success, confidence, and growth, it begins to treat them as possibilities rather than dreams. This is not wishful thinking. This is science. Your brain cannot distinguish between vivid imagination and actual experience. By repeatedly imagining success, your brain strengthens neural pathways that make taking action easier, faster, and more natural. Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings lead to action, and action, over time, transforms into reality. It is also essential to guard your mind against toxic influences. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and the habits you allow to dominate your day all feed your thoughts. If your environment encourages fear, doubt, or stagnation, your thoughts will mirror that, and your reality will follow suit. On the other hand, exposure to inspiration, knowledge, and positivity strengthens your mind's ability to focus on solutions rather than problems. Your brain is constantly absorbing information, interpreting it, and turning it into mental patterns. The more intentional you are about what you feed your mind, the more intentional your thoughts become, and the more intentional your reality will feel. Many people also overlook the importance of self-talk. The words you speak to yourself internally shape how you experience life. A person who constantly says, "I can't handle this," trains their mind to see obstacles as insurmountable. A person who says, "I am capable, I am resourceful, I will find a way," programs their mind to seek solutions, opportunities, and possibilities. Self-talk is not a minor detail, it is the software running your brain. Update it consciously, and you will see immediate changes in your attitude, energy, and decision-making. Lastly, it is critical to understand that thought alone is not enough. Thoughts create the direction, but they require action to bring them to life. However, without the proper mindset, action becomes scattered, inconsistent, and ineffective. When your thoughts are aligned with your desires, your actions become purposeful. You begin to notice opportunities you previously overlooked. Challenges no longer feel like threats, but like signals guiding you toward growth. Your energy shifts, your decisions shift, and gradually, the world outside begins to reflect the new world inside your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, your thoughts are not harmless whispers. They are the architects of your destiny. The life you wake up to tomorrow is determined by what you allow your mind to believe today. You can either choose to let fear, doubt, and limitation control your reality, or you can consciously choose thoughts of possibility, courage, and determination. Every great achievement in human history began with a thought. Every success story you admire started as a single idea, a vision, a belief that the world could be shaped differently. Your mind holds that same power. If you begin today to master your thoughts, to feed your mind with purpose and positivity, to reject limiting beliefs, and to cultivate the reality you desire in your imagination first, then change will not just be possible, it will be inevitable. Change in life does not always arrive in grand, dramatic moments. It is rarely a sudden earthquake that shakes everything into place. More often, change comes quietly, in the form of small, seemingly insignificant decisions that accumulate over time, until they transform your reality completely. Every choice you make, no matter how minor it seems in the moment, is a seed planted in the soil of your future. You may decide to wake up 15 minutes earlier, to say no to an unproductive habit, or to take one small step toward a goal you've been avoiding. These decisions may feel trivial at the moment, but they have the power to set off a chain reaction that reshapes your life entirely. The problem is that most people underestimate the power of small decisions. They wait for a big opportunity, a perfect moment, or a miracle solution to arrive, while ignoring the daily choices that are quietly shaping their destiny. Life is not a single event. It is a series of decisions strung together. If you make wise decisions consistently, even in the smallest moments, you gradually create momentum. That momentum compounds, and before you know it, your life looks dramatically different from the one you had before. On the other hand, repeated small decisions to procrastinate, doubt yourself, or avoid responsibility slowly erode your potential. The difference between success and stagnation is often measured in the tiny choices that go unnoticed. Why most people consider the power of habits. Habits are the accumulation of small decisions repeated over time. Drinking water instead of soda, reading for 10 minutes a day, walking instead of remaining sedentary, saving a small portion of your income consistently. These actions may seem almost meaningless when looked at individually. Yet, over months and years, these small choices compound into extraordinary results. A person who decides to read a single chapter every night will, in a year, have consumed dozens of books, gaining knowledge and insights that can change the trajectory of their life. A person who chooses to invest just a little of their earnings consistently will, over time, accumulate financial security that most people only dream of. It is not luck. It is the invisible power of small, deliberate decisions multiplied consistently over time. Even in relationships, small decisions create massive change. Choosing to listen instead of reacting, to forgive instead of holding a grudge, to encourage instead of criticizing. These choices may seem minor, but they build trust, deepen bonds, and create an environment where love and respect flourish. Neglect these small decisions, and even the strongest relationships can weaken over time. Life is often shaped not by a single grand gesture, but by the countless tiny choices that demonstrate consistency, care, and commitment. The same principle applies to your personal growth and career. Every time you choose to act instead of waiting, to learn instead of assuming you already know enough, or to step outside your comfort zone even slightly, you are laying the groundwork for a completely different future. The decision to take one course, make one phone call, or speak up in one meeting may seem small, but it can open doors that lead to unimaginable opportunities. When you begin to pay attention to these small decisions and make them with intention, you realize that the illusion of randomness in life starts to fade. What looks like luck to others is often the outcome of countless deliberate small choices that went unnoticed by everyone else. It is also important to recognize that small decisions are easier to make consistently than dramatic, life-altering commitments. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight to create massive change. Trying to change everything at once often leads to burnout, disappointment, and discouragement. But if you commit to making slightly better decisions each day, you harness the power of compounding progress. One extra hour of focus on your goals, one additional act of kindness, one choice to reject negativity, all of these tiny improvements add up faster than you might imagine. The key is consistency and awareness. If you are aware of the small choices you make every day and choose them with purpose, you begin to feel empowered. You realize that you are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the architect of your own life. Perhaps the most profound aspect of small decisions is their ability to create momentum. Momentum is invisible, yet it is one of the most powerful forces in life. Each small decision, each tiny action builds momentum, making the next decision easier and the next even more effortless. Once momentum is created, it accelerates your progress in ways that can feel almost magical. You start attracting opportunities, people, and experiences aligned with the direction you are heading. What once seemed impossible becomes natural. A life that once felt stagnant begins to flow, all because of the repeated power of small, intentional decisions. Finally, we must understand the mindset required to harness this power. It begins with awareness. You must notice your decisions, even the ones that seem inconsequential. Then, it requires courage. You must choose the path of growth, the path that may feel uncomfortable or uncertain, even in small ways. And lastly, it requires patience. Massive change is not instant, but small decisions made consistently will inevitably lead to extraordinary outcomes. Your reality is being shaped every single moment by the choices you make. The question is, will those choices be random and reactive, or deliberate and transformative? Ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate the power of a single choice, a small action, or a seemingly insignificant decision. Each one is a spark, and together, they can ignite a fire that transforms your life in ways you never thought possible. The key to massive change is not waiting for one giant breakthrough, but recognizing that the accumulation of small decisions is what builds extraordinary results. The life you dream of is not the result of luck or sudden miracles. It is the outcome of the tiny, deliberate choices you make every single day. Too often we underestimate the power of small decisions. We look at life and think that major changes require major events, major opportunities, or major luck. But the reality is very different. Life is not shaped by a single, monumental choice. It is shaped by countless small decisions that, when compounded over time, create massive, transformative change. Every choice you make, no matter how insignificant it may seem in the moment, is planting a seed for your future. Each decision nudges your life in a specific direction, whether toward growth, opportunity, and success, or toward stagnation, frustration, and missed potential. The challenge is that most people ignore these small choices because they appear insignificant. They wait for a big break, a perfect opportunity, or a sudden spark of inspiration, believing that real change only happens in grand, visible ways. But real transformation is quiet, subtle, and persistent. It is the daily decisions we make about how we spend our time, who we surround ourselves with, what we focus on, and the habits we choose to develop that ultimately shape our lives. Every morning you decide whether to hit the snooze button or start your day with purpose. Every conversation you engage in, every thought you entertain, and every small act of discipline or negligence contributes to a larger pattern that will determine your future. Consider the power of habits. Habits are essentially small decisions repeated over time. Choosing to read a few pages each day, deciding to exercise for just 15 minutes. Or committing to saving a small portion of your income may seem minor in isolation. Yet these small choices accumulate and compound, creating a momentum that is unstoppable once it begins. Think of someone who reads 10 pages a day. In a year, that amounts to thousands of pages, perhaps dozens of books, and the wisdom gained can profoundly influence their career, mindset, and opportunities. Similarly, someone who saves or invests juice tea a little each month may start with almost nothing, but over time, that consistency builds wealth that most people only dream about. These small choices are not meaningless, they are the foundation of extraordinary outcomes. Small decisions also shape relationships in ways that are often overlooked. Choosing to be kind, to listen carefully, or to show appreciation consistently has a massive cumulative effect. A single moment of impatience or criticism may seem trivial, but if repeated, it erodes trust, connection, and respect. On the other hand, consistent small gestures of understanding and support strengthen bonds and deepen relationships in ways that can last a lifetime. The same principle applies to every interaction in your life. The small decisions you make in how you treat others, how you respond to challenges, and how you manage your commitments create patterns that define your relationships and social environment. Your career, too, is shaped by the accumulation of small decisions. Choosing to learn a new skill, to volunteer for a challenging assignment, or to ask a question that others might avoid may seem minor at the moment, but these choices demonstrate initiative and vision. Over time, these small, consistent actions distinguish you from those who wait for opportunity to arrive rather than creating it for themselves. Opportunities rarely appear fully formed, they are often the result of countless small, deliberate steps that position you to take advantage of the right moment when it comes. One phone call, one email, one meeting attended with focus and energy can create connections and possibilities that change your professional trajectory. What is particularly remarkable about small decisions is their power to generate momentum. Momentum is invisible, yet it is one of the most powerful forces in life. Each small choice creates a ripple effect, making the next decision easier and the next one after that even easier still. Soon, progress begins to feel effortless. Success seems natural, not forced. The cumulative effect of these tiny actions can eventually feel unstoppable. Momentum is not magic. It is the outcome of consistent, conscious decision-making. People who achieve extraordinary results rarely rely on sudden inspiration or luck. They rely on the consistent power of small decisions repeated over weeks, months, and years. Many people fail because they do not appreciate the compounding power of these small actions. They believe that missing one day or one opportunity is catastrophic. They think that unless they make massive leaps, nothing will change. But in reality, it is the accumulation of small, intentional decisions that creates real transformation. Choosing to do slightly better than yesterday, deciding to act even when it feels uncomfortable, or making one small change to break a bad habit may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, these decisions have an exponential effect. The key is consistency. It is not about perfection, it is about making a deliberate choice every day to move in the direction of growth and improvement. Awareness is critical in this process. You must notice the decisions you make, even the ones that seem minor. It requires discipline to pause and evaluate whether your choices are moving you closer to your goals or further away. Once you become aware of your decision-making patterns, you can begin to direct them intentionally. You can choose actions that align with your vision instead of being pulled by habit, comfort, or fear. Every time you make a conscious choice, no matter how small, you reinforce the mindset that you are in control of your life. You are the architect of your future, building it one decision at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate the power of the choices you make today. Every small decision, what you read, who you speak to, how you spend your time, and even how you think about yourself, is creating the reality you will experience tomorrow. Massive change does not require a massive moment. It requires thousands of small decisions made consistently, intentionally, and with purpose. Each one is a brick. Each one is a step. Each one is a seed that grows into a future beyond what you can currently imagine. The life you desire is built not by chance, but by the deliberate accumulation of small, meaningful choices made day after day, week after week, year after year. One of the most powerful truths in life is this: what you focus on grows. The reality you experience is a reflection of where your attention goes. Every thought, every emotion, every worry, and every dream you dwell on becomes magnified over time. If you focus on problems, scarcity, or fear, those elements of life will dominate your experience. If you focus on opportunities, solutions, and possibilities, you will find that your life responds to that focus in remarkable ways. Our minds are like magnets, and the energy we put into them draws corresponding outcomes. What you feed your attention grows, and what you ignore diminishes. Many people fail to understand the true weight of this principle. We are constantly bombarded with distractions, negativity, and information that can pull our focus away from what really matters. Social media, news cycles, toxic conversations, and constant comparisons keep our attention on what we fear or lack. When we consistently focus on scarcity, we amplify it in our lives. When we obsess over problems, we unconsciously dedicate energy to making those problems larger. And yet, in the same mind, if we shift our focus even slightly toward solutions, growth, and abundance, we begin to notice opportunities that were invisible before. The shift may feel small, but its effects are enormous. Your focus determines not just what you notice, but what you feel, how you act, and ultimately what you attract into your life. The human brain is wired to filter the vast world around us, highlighting what we think about most often. This is why two people can experience the same event in completely different ways. One person sees the setback as a failure and dwells on everything that went wrong, while another sees the same event as feedback, learning, and an opportunity to improve. The difference lies entirely in focus. One mind magnifies limitation, and the other magnifies potential. One mind creates despair, the other creates progress. What you focus on is literally shaping your perception, your emotions, and your actions. And over time, it shapes your reality itself. It is also important to realize that our focus can be trained. Like any skill, attention can be directed deliberately. Start by being conscious of where your mind goes during the day. Notice the thoughts that dominate your internal dialogue. Are they fears about failure, worries about judgment, or regrets about the past? Or are they visions of what could be, ideas for growth, and steps toward your goals? Awareness is the first step. Once you see where your focus is going, you can start redirecting it toward thoughts that empower you. The brain cannot sustain focus on both negativity and possibility at the same time. By choosing what to dwell on, you are choosing the lens through which your entire life is experienced. Visualization and intentional focus are tools that successful people use every day. By imagining a positive outcome vividly, by feeling it emotionally, and by keeping it at the center of their thoughts, they are essentially sending a signal to their subconscious mind to seek out opportunities that align with that vision. Athletes imagine the perfect performance. Entrepreneurs imagine successful ventures. Leaders imagine solutions to challenges. The act of focusing on what they want rather than what they fear activates creativity, courage, and resilience in ways that are often invisible at first but become unmistakable over time. Your attention becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Equally, what you allow into your mind matters. If you fill your day with negative input, gossip, complaints, or constant comparison, you are training your brain to magnify negativity. On the other hand, if you choose to read, listen, and watch content that uplifts, educates, and inspires, you are magnifying growth. Small, deliberate changes in focus can create dramatic changes in experience. The mind is not neutral. It responds to energy. Where your energy goes, your life follows. Focusing on solutions rather than problems, gratitude rather than lack, possibilities rather than limitations, shifts your entire internal and external world. Focus is also intimately connected to your emotions. What you pay attention to shapes how you feel. Replaying past failures, anticipating future problems, or dwelling on what others think can create anxiety, frustration, and hopelessness. Conversely, focusing on progress, lessons learned, and steps you can take immediately generates confidence, optimism, and energy. Emotion drives action. Action drives results. Therefore, your focus ultimately drives the outcomes in your life. The clarity of attention determines the effectiveness of your effort. One of the most common mistakes people make is letting external circumstances dictate focus. When problems arise, many people fixate on the obstacles instead of the solutions. They complain about circumstances, blame others, or ruminate on how unfair life is. But focusing on what you cannot control only increases frustration. Shifting focus toward what you can influence, the decisions you make, the actions you take, the mindset you cultivate, gives you power. The mind responds to focus by activating energy and creativity to address what it sees as important. By intentionally choosing where to direct your attention, you take control over the outcomes you produce. Ladies and gentlemen, what you focus on grows not only in your mind but in your life. The problems you obsess over, the fears you feed, the doubts you indulge, they all expand. At the same time, the dreams you imagine, the possibilities you envision, the gratitude you practice, they all multiply. Your mind is a garden, and your focus is the water and sunlight. If you water weeds, they grow. If you water seeds of potential, they flourish into the life you desire. Every moment is an opportunity to decide where your attention goes, and that decision is the most powerful one you can make. By choosing your focus intentionally, you begin to reclaim control over your experience. You stop being a passive observer of life and become an active creator. You start noticing opportunities, solutions, and people who support your vision. You begin to act with clarity and purpose rather than reacting to circumstances. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your focus, and the sooner you understand and apply this principle, the faster you will see your reality shift in the direction of your dreams. Motivation is a wonderful feeling. It inspires us, excites us, and makes us feel like we can conquer the world. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you wake up feeling unstoppable, ready to take on every challenge, but the next day, even the smallest obstacle can make you hesitate, procrastinate, or give up entirely. This is why discipline is far more powerful than motivation. Discipline does not rely on feelings. Discipline is not dependent on mood, energy, or circumstances. Discipline is consistent action, taken regardless of whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality, the engine that turns potential into results, and the force that separates those who achieve extraordinary things from those who only wish for them. Many people make the mistake of waiting for motivation before they act. They tell themselves, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'll do it when I feel ready." But the truth is, you will rarely ever feel ready. Life will never align perfectly. Motivation is unreliable, temporary, and unpredictable. It is a spark, not a flame. And while sparks can ignite action, they will not sustain you over the long journey toward your goals. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It is a habit, a muscle you can train, a force that drives you forward even when the initial excitement has faded. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not feel like inspiration. It often requires doing things you do not want to do, taking actions that are uncomfortable, and pushing yourself when every part of your body and mind resists. But it is precisely through this resistance that transformation occurs. Consider the lives of the most successful people throughout history. They did not achieve greatness because they were always motivated. They achieved greatness because they were disciplined. They showed up every day even when they did not feel like it, even when they were tired, discouraged, or facing setbacks. They did the work consistently, regardless of mood or circumstance. They understood that action creates momentum, that repeated effort compounds over time, and that discipline builds results where motivation cannot. Motivation is the beginning, discipline is the continuation. Without discipline, motivation fades and dreams remain unfulfilled. Discipline requires structure. It requires a commitment to routine and to doing the things that matter most, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. It is waki. End up early to work toward your goals, even when the bed feels warm and comfortable. It is dedicating time to practice, learn, or improve when others are relaxing or distracting themselves. It is choosing long-term success over short-term comfort. Discipline means following through on the promises you make to yourself, even when no one is watching. It is the quiet force that produces results far beyond what motivation alone can achieve. One of the most powerful aspects of discipline is its ability to make success inevitable. Motivation is like a gust of wind that can push you forward briefly, but it is fleeting and unpredictable. Discipline, however, is like the tide. It moves steadily, consistently, and unavoidably. When you commit to disciplined action, you remove the reliance on fleeting feelings and instead rely on your own willpower, habits, and consistency. Discipline transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. It turns small, repeated efforts into life-changing results. Discipline is also about